Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Thursday. How's everyone doing one day before the CPI? So, shutdown still continues. What is going on? Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Sterling. No problem, Sterling. Thanks for everything you do. But where are the earnings this morning, Sterling? Yeah, work has you now. Oh, Sterling. Sterling. Oh, boy. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning, Ted. Good morning, Andrea. Watch on demand. Sorry. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Jake. I really appreciate it. Hello, Charles. Hello, Dean and Patrick over on Rumble. And Dean, in case you didn't see it in the chat, I did get, or I should call you Rusty. Rusty, I did get your email. Rusty, otherwise known as Dean. But I like the Rusty Swimmer better. Not to insult your real name, Rusty. I just like to say Rusty every day. You know, I used to be a swimmer in high school. Ah, two best strokes were the butterfly and the backstroke. So, again, good morning, Daniel. Not that anybody cares. Good morning, Christoph. All right, we got CPI tomorrow. I'm personally very cautious with equities today. And when I say equities, I mean equity futures. So really key level is 6750 area. Right around there is key resistance. And again, if we get up above there, 6765, it's very scalpy right now. We're caught in a major consolidation pattern. A volatile consolidation pattern, but pretty significant. So 6750, 6765, and then 6782, 83 are my upside targets or key resistance. Key support, I'm between 6705 and 6695. Other than that, very cautious. CPI comes out tomorrow. Not going to force anything in the futures today. Not going to force nothing unless we get momentum. And now, if we get momentum bars, something comes out because you never know what's going to come out of the White House. You never know. You never know. Maybe we're not just tearing down the whole East Wing. Maybe we're just going to replace the whole White House. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? We got new sanctions on Russia with oil, the crude, double bottom, kept falling through, hit the other side of the rotation zone, paused, and then sanctions coming out and went to the 50. Which is always my next target area beyond the rotation zone. So that's for the S&P. Good morning, OD Green. Odds for the market as a shutdown at over 35 days. So that would be a new record, right, Jake? Was the prior one 35 days? I'm getting old. My memory. Yeah, I saw that. Rivian's laying off like 600, wasn't it? 600. I saw that. Meta laying off an eight. Didn't they just hire in the AI unit though? And like some of these salaries are insane, and now they're already laying off. Trust me, it's going to unravel. You know what's going to be the next thing with AI? Firms are going to start focusing on using their current GPUs more efficiently. More efficiently. Now, what's that going to do? Once the NVIDIA and all these circular agreements start sort of going kaput. Oh boy. The other thing, pension funds all in on AI. All in on AI and Tesla, by the way. Tesla had earnings yesterday. I was surprised, a little gap down. I mean, the earnings weren't that good for expiring tax credits. Sold a lot of cars out of inventory, though. So, I sound great today. Thank you, Rick. Yes, odds have this as a record. Thank you. Massive spike in, I think you mean crude, Charles? For crude this week, would buying weekly options have been better than position or day trading it? That's a personal preference. I mean, you get more leverage with options, okay? But I rarely go back and do stuff in hindsight. You know, should I have done this or this? I structured a trade and then stick with the trade I'm in. You know, did we know the sanctions were coming? No, we had the double bottom pattern. Had the double bottom pattern. So remember, a lot of times, now it kept going beyond the double bottom targets, but a lot of times you get the pattern set up before the news hits. Yeah, kaput, I'm getting old. I'm cooked. I'm more than cooked. I'm more than cooked. All right. With me being more than cooked, maybe I'm cooked like maybe I'm slow cooked like sous vide. I'm sous videed. 25, just above 25, 100, barely above there. There's key resistance. Key support for me is 24, 835. If we come back down there, I'll watch that for support. If we break through there, 24, 755 is the next support area. Looks like we're getting a little selling pressure going in the open. Again, if we get above 25.1, I really doubt that. But again, you got to be prepared. That's why you analyze both sides of the market for both short term and long term. So you don't get caught with your blinders on. Don't get caught with your goggins on. Goggins for your noggins. If I hear that commercial one more time, 25, 235 is key resistance up there if it were to break above 25, 103. Again, I'm erring aside on choppy to choppy, slight maybe downward bias today, but who knows? Not going to force it. 25, 4, 835 and 24, 755 are the two key levels down below. Again, got to be prepared for anything any given day because of news that could come out. Dow trading still above key support at 46.550 area, 535 to 550. So looking at that, key resistance. There's some minor resistance up right around just above this, about 46.8. Above 46.8, you got 46.961. Russell, how's Russell doing this morning? Key resistance 24.77. And then again, things are very, very tight in here. 24.87. And then major resistance back up at 25.17. Major support, raising this up a bit, raising this up to about 24.40. VIX staying elevated ahead of the CPI. Man, did you see Goldman's projections for, hey, if the CPI, I think it's still, if the CPI comes in at 3%, I mean, not 3%, 0.3%, which annualized would be 3.6, they're expecting like still a market rally. You know, everything's getting very complacent with everything. Oh, let's just focus on unemployment right now. Still 20 is the key level for me, or if we drop down below 18. DAX still in major consolidation. Not really looking for much. Key support area between 24 and 24.80. Key resistance 24.5, roughly 24.480 to 24.5. Good morning, Anissa. My favorite American commercial is Liberty, the Liberty Mutual. If we were topping the market, a very unusual pattern. No, it could be forming like a rolling. Well, we still have the potential weekly doubles, but in the daily, it's more consolidation rolling over. Good morning, Heinrich. Just do not say crock pot. Why should I not say crock pot? What's wrong with the good old crock pot? I love making chili in a crock pot. 2% is a myth. And what is in the mandate of the Fed? What is it? Everybody's forgotten, but it's actually written in the Fed's mandate by Congress. Stable prices, flat stable prices. It's technically 0%. They're already violating their mandate at 2%, but nobody gives a crap about anything. Let's just inflate away our debt. Potential percent B sell into the rotation zone on notes. Again, we're breaking down below yesterday's low. We'll have to see where it closes. Still have a potential double top in place for the CPI tomorrow. Would need an initial break below 113.10 and then a follow through close below there. Yields, percent B buy into the rotation zone. To trigger the potential double bottom, needs a close above 3.986. Needs to watch where this closes today. So, crude, there you go. Spiking up, hitting the first target, and then just in front of the rotation zone, which I talked about yesterday, pulling back down, and then the sanctions gap, and straight to other major resistance level. You can see here, major resistance on the weekly into the weekly rotation zone. Is there a sell set up yet? No. So at this point, it's just trailing any remaining longs. Now, the next key level for me to watch is 62.52 on a closing basis. Other than that, I will watch for a potential rollover or stalling out pattern between 61.21 and 62.52. Natty gas holding above key resistance. Might be a very aggressive percent B sell above yesterday's low on a closing basis. That's what I'm keeping an eye on there, but that's only back into the separating rotation zone. Gold has not triggered. And technically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has to actually trigger the double today. Now, does that mean there won't be a bounce play if that does not trigger? No. I just would use the harmonics, and the key targets, if I use the harmonics instead of the double, would be 42.10 and then just in front of 42.56, so 42.50. Going to be seeing if that triggers or times out first. Either way, this high, by the way, is also percent B buy from potentially yesterday's high. So if this double were to time out on the 4-hour basis, but it did rally above yesterday's high, it's a percent B buy. Either way, I'm paying very close attention with the CPI coming out to yesterday's high going into tomorrow morning. Silver, already potentially, it was triggered. It hasn't confirmed a percent B buy, but it's triggered it on the intraday basis. All right, if this follows through, my first target area is 50.08 to 50.29. That is my first target area. Right in here for a bounce in silver. Still has to follow through with a close above yesterday's high. Copper starting to climb, interesting enough, but still below key resistance at 515. Platinum bouncing back. Also, percent beat buy on the break above here has to still follow through with a close, but already hit the first target area. Dollar index running up against key support, making a little 4-hour potential double top. So that's very interesting. Could be off the table if it can rally up, but that's ahead of the CPI. Going to keep an eye on that. It's not yet in daily double top territory. So those are the only two things. But again, if this 4-hour triggered, would it be a disaster for the dollar? No, it would not. It would just take it back into a very key support level. Euro, very mini. Very, again, mini potential double bottom. So there you go with that. Again, if you're trading, if you're not trading dollar index, you can always trade the euros. And if you're not trading you're gonna just convert it to cash. So again, I watch for, since the euros around 50% of the dollar index, so it's not a 100% correlation, but you still get a lot of times reverse patterns in it. The yen, interesting enough, is still weakening. So I'm still looking for that upward bias in the dollar. Spiders, there we go. Little gap down today, so there's a minor potential gap play to yesterday's close. And then a 668.65 is still key resistance. Above there, you're looking at 671.50 area. Very strong support is yesterday's low around 663.40. Below there, your major support is right around 660. Other than that, not much to talk about today. Qs, again, slight gap down for if on any rally, 605.49 for the gap fill. Bumping this level down to right around 607 to 607.20 on any stronger rally. I'm watching first level of support I'm looking for is right around 601.80, then closer to 601. Bitcoin still caught in this consolidation, still closing below 110 650 area. I can only start looking for bullish stuff if it starts getting above 113 400. Start looking. We're still testing key support weekly, on a week basis, I should say, and still no close. Close below the weekly rotation zone last week, but no close below the very key support level around this 108. Gonna be watching for that to see how it closes tomorrow. How do trade things like copper and DAX? Again, you can look, there's some copper ETFs. I just look at the futures for both. It does look to me like it's going to tank, but I'm erring on the side of down. But there's holding key support. We need to get intraday momentum. Tesla, I'm still watching again until the market starts rolling over. The dip will probably get bought from the earnings. Again, beat on revenue, missed on EPS. Not surprisingly enough, not a super strong earnings report, but I'm still watching. Maybe there'll be a lot of options volume coming in. So I'm watching for the potential gap fill. And yeah, this is a very sloppy head and shoulders top. If it starts breaking, it's 410 is the key level for a breakdown for me. Interesting. Remember, if this did not at least confirm, it does not. I want to clarify something for a double. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So that, but it confirmed. It's not yet triggered. So even though it could time out, it's confirmed. So the timeout rule's off the table once it confirms. So even if this doesn't trigger today, it could still trigger tomorrow. It has confirmed, and this is a very minor pattern. Again, 50 EMA, 330 area for the first target, and only the second target counts, 325. Remember, there is a gap left behind from this emotional candle close. There's a pretty big gap left behind. So if this does trigger, that's the second target on that. We do have the only little bullish thing I'm keeping an eye on for AI related stuff is this little mini double bottom in NVIDIA. May never trigger. That's the only thing. Good morning, Mark. Gold is multiple patterns right now. I already covered gold. Again, I'm just watching this potential double, the potential %B buy, even if the double does not trigger. I'm keeping an eye on yesterday's high. That's a very key level for me. Silver is also already triggered the %B, but not officially confirmed it by the close. don't you find it interesting that there aren't many Fed rate cuts projected as of May 2026? Yeah, that is interesting. That's a good point. That's a very good point, Christoph. If you come back here to the Fed watch, it's always already like, I think it's just because who knows who's going to come in. But it is interesting that it's sort of like cut dramatically into that and then stall it out at 2.75 to 3%. And nothing, even though Trump says he wants it closer to 1 to 2%, which would be way down here. That is very interesting. But the market thinks the neutral rate is closer to 2.75 to 3%. I think that's a very aggressive neutral rate, especially with inflation, which is being ignored, still elevated. Why can't I say crockpot, Rick? Oh, we already covered. How'd that get... Why can't I say crockpot, though? Comments are scrambled. Mike, I was referencing the 1 hour double bottom on gold. Oh. 1 hour double bottom on gold. 1 hour. This little one that it's already played out. This little double was reversing this move. And that one's played out. Now, if you're still in it, if you're using it as a front run, why did I say it's played out? Because the first and second targets are already hit. Okay? So if you're using it as a front run, it's just trailing to see if that percent B buy triggers or if the bigger double triggers. There's your bigger double pattern right there. What is it? Hold on. I think Rusty wanted Verizon over on Rumble. Verizon. And period. Just watching this very key support level for a potential trade. Verizon, I still like from a fundamental. Why do I like it? Dividend yield right above my head. Close to 7%. P to E 9.36. I really like it down here against support if it forms a buy pattern, especially a weekly buy pattern. Now, is that to go to the moon? No, that's to run up to, again, some key resistance levels. Still like Verizon from a dividend play, potentially. Okay. And this, if you're looking, this is not a potential double. So, and we saw the rotation zone against it. So I'm watching personally for a stronger buying pattern, just slightly lower in here. But that is still a valid dividend play in my book. Maybe not somebody else's, but in my book. KRE. I am not a big fan of this right now, but there, it's got to come down and show me something closer to about 56 before I start looking for a buy pattern. Just because and if it breaks below 50, if it breaks below 56 on a closing basis, not interested at all. Can we look at Lulu? Lulu. You mean the wide bottom double? Confirmed, but not yet triggered. Really nice on the weekly, into the weekly rotation zone. So I'd be watching this. It's confirmed, but not officially triggered. This one might turn into a channeling double against it, but again, that first key target area right at the breakdown zone could be interesting. So if this were to run, this could be a front run. I mean, it would trigger on the daily. But I'd really pay attention to this first key area to definitely raise a stop. And then there's a gap left behind from their earnings. So that is definitely a complete valid pattern on good old Lulu. Good old Lulu against a 75% harmonic and a pretty strong support level right in here. You see right around here. Prior resistance. Just a key gap open, a weekly gap open below there, and closing right at that level. That is a significant level. So you have resistance, breaking above, turning into support, gap down, key closing that level, and then moving away from it. And right now, it's trading in that same vicinity. Would not get overexcited yet because it's still against the weekly rotation zone, but that could easily rally up still potentially before earnings are a long way off, not till the beginning of December. Not triggered yet on the daily. Yes, they could be. They could be. There's a lot of possible canaries in the coal mine right now. Things are deteriorating rapidly behind the scenes. But retail's in rah-rah mode. And institutions are more and more selling into retail retail buying. So I'm paying attention to some of these potential topping patterns, or at least a rounding pattern here, but not willing to go on massive shorts until we trigger something bigger. With that, all right, we're into the open. That's all I have to say. Nothing's changed really with the levels, so being very cautious on equities today ahead of CPI. And I shall talk to everyone hopefully tomorrow morning. Everything will be a go. So I'll let you know on X if it's not. Until then, bye for now.